Hello guys, my name is Johnny Brown, and I would like to give a little bit of a background about myself and also talk about a whole range of different things regarding the game. So, where to begin? Let's go ahead and start with me. I'm a web developer by trade, a full stack web developer. I've been a web developer since I was roughly 17 years old. I was doing HTML and CSS when I was 14, and I started in programming when I was a little under 17, and I'm 33 now. And for the past 2 years, I've been learning Unity basically almost full time and making prototypes and really progressing to the point to where I can build this game, which has kind of been a long time dream of mine to build this space game that I've always wanted to play. And I'm a gamer, so I've played pretty much every space sim there is I could get my hands on over the years, probably since 1997. And no one's quite released a game that I wanted to play. Now, the X Series game from EgoSoft was almost the game I wanted to play. It was a fun game for what it was, and I didn't really enjoy the trading aspect to it. I thought that it was kind of a waste of development time, and it wasn't really fun. It didn't really add a lot of fun to the game. It was just something to do. So my game is going to be a completely different game, but the experience from the perspective of being experienced from the cockpit will be similar or the same as the X game. Meaning you'll fly ships, and all the ships you'll fly will be experienced from the cockpit until a later time when I do, release the game, and if the game does well and makes money, then I'll be able to afford to hire modelers to make ships with interiors. Because the support in this game for adding first person controllers where you could walk around on the inside of moving ships, just like Star Citizen, will absolutely be there. Okay, so what's next? Where do I start here? Let's talk about. Well, first off, let me say that I'm not used to speaking into a microphone to humans, and I don't normally communicate that much to humans. I'm the kind of the guy that you keep in the basement and do magical things, and I don't really see the daylight very often. But with that said, I am very good at what I do, which is architecture design, and this is the first full game I've actually designed, but not the first full complex software system that I've designed. In web development. I'm a framework designer by trade, among many other disciplines. So let's get started on talking about Galactic Armada and what's on this kind of enormous chart here, which is the first of many charts. Uh, so what I've done is the prototypes you've seen on this channel, at least the last like 5 or 6 videos, have been me setting out to prove that one of the core components that will drive this game is even possible to build with a performance that performs well enough to where there'll be resources left CPU wise for the rest of the game to run and operate, which is all the AIs, the background processes that will be running for the board game. And I've actually proven for a fact, without question, that that system is possible, and this game is absolutely in fact possible to build. So what I'm doing now is I'm moving on to the design phase, to where I'm designing the entire game on these charts, which will display. There'll be software architecture flow charts. There'll be concept design charts, which won't be exactly flow charts, but they'll show the concept of certain mechanics, and also how other systems are connected and interact with those mechanics. Because a game like this, you can't really design off of the top of your head. It's really complicated, and not only do you have to have at least a library of these charts, but at least some halfway decent documentation of the code along the way to refer back to, because it's a lot to remember, and at some point I may have other people working on it to where I can show them this chart and they may not understand it right away, but I can quickly go over it, and another software engineer will be able to quickly understand what's going on, with me just spending a few minutes explaining the diagram to them. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on some of this. So what this chart is this chart covers all of the AI agents in the game. It'll be running every AI agent with the exception of the Empire Leader agent, which will give orders to fleets, and also be the strategy element behind the empires, which will command ships where to go, what to attack, what to defend, etc. This system right here is everything else, which is covered right up here. We have so you have AIM team types. We'll talk about that first. You have an empire, you have a herd, an entity, a pirate fleet, a marauder fleet. The empires will be exactly that, empires. They'll have fleets, many fleets of ships. They'll control and capture planets and space stations and areas. There'll be herds, which will be herds of space creatures, which will be I want to add as much variety as possible for the space creatures. There'll be basically fleets of space creatures, which could look like squids or blowfish or aliens or energy looking creatures or whatever I can come up with. And those herds will have unique weapons and abilities that aren't on the Empire ships. Entities will be single entities. They won't be fleets. They'll just be single objects, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Pirate fleets will be pirate fleets. Pirate fleets and there'll be marauder fleets, and the pirate fleets will be different and have a different agenda than the marauder fleets, which I'll also get into here in a minute. So the free roaming types are the rebels, empire rebels, herds, entity, pirate, and marauder. AI. So the AI herds will actually be similar in construction, in hierarchy, as far to the fleets, which is the herd leader, adolescent, adult. I'll get into that in a minute too. And then the ship AI types, which are under empires. Also, if you follow these lines here, you see how it's pointing over here from Empire Rebel to ship AI type. So the Empire Rebels, the pirates, and marauders will all have pilots, captains, and admirals within the fleet in the hierarchy, and the admiral will give orders that filter down to the captains and the pilots in battles. So you have the entity AI types, which is the single objects. You have energy vampire, fuel parasite, planet killer, star killer, hyperspace disruptor, and ship devourer. And so I'll go ahead and read some of my notes here. And so on space creatures that move in herds and grow from adolescent to adult over time. Herds will regenerate themselves over time by spawning new adolescents when one is captured or destroyed. Herds will persist in the galaxy unless completely destroyed by a player, empire, or roaming AIs. Adolescents will be capturable targets. Both player and AI admirals will be able to attempt to capture them. Once successful, they will become available to the Empire's available ships pool. Adolescents will still require a set time period to mature into an adult, where unique weapons and abilities will become available. Sorry, there's a typo right there. I need to fix that. Space creatures will physically grow over time as they mature into adulthood. The maximum size will be dependent upon a procedural generation system during the creation of the galaxy. So, and then down here, planet killers. Watch out for Galactitis roaming the galaxy, consuming and destroying planets. In Galactic Armada, there will be massive entities that are literally massive objects, just like, I don't know if y'all watched Krypton, the TV show, just like the size of Brainiac's ship, or even bigger than that, half the size of planets. And they will literally be destroying planets in the galaxy. There'll be two types of enormous Titans class entities that are capable of destroying the galaxy around you, literally removing them from the galaxy map altogether. And that'll be planet killers, just like kind of like Galactus in Marvel. So in Marvel, I mean, except I'm calling it Galactitis. I probably will come up with a different name, you know. And then there'll be star killers, which will be able to destroy entire solar systems by consuming the star, causing a supernova. And the player will actually see this happen in the background. And in Galactic Armada, you will actually see all the stars, the physical stars in the galaxy, in the procedural galaxy. And when one of these star killer entities, which will take a long time for it to destroy a star, which will destroy the entire solar system, all the planets in the solar system, the player will actually see a big explosion, a light up in the distance, and see that star go supernova. So, where else are we? Oh yeah, ship devourers. Okay, so there'll be entities that literally have big mouths, and they'll be able to actually swallow smaller ships like fighters, and they'll chase you around. They'll chase you around, and when they get within 40 or 50 meters of your ship, it'll actually be a physics simulation where it starts pulling you into the mouth, and it'll actually kill you. They'll be deadly, and when they eat ships, they'll have they'll literally crap you out. There's going to be a sense of humor in this game like you've never seen in a video game before. They'll actually have a particle stream behind them. So let's go ahead and talk about the AI agents. There's a lot here to cover. I don't know if I can cover all of it in this video, but I do want to talk about some of the core things here, if I can kind of organize it verbally. Okay, so what we have here is, how do I explain this? Okay, so AI ships will have a mental state and a morale state. These are the two main things that the player will be visible to the player, and they're also one of the most important things in the game. So I'll just read what I have written down here. The primary function of morale state is to determine when AI ships within empires transition to rebel status and activate the rebel algorithm. Morale states, like mental states, will be affected by a wide range of data inputs. When the morale of a ship drops below 30% each day, there will be a random chance that the AI ship will convert into a rebel. If morale drops below 10%, ships will automatically convert to rebels even during battles in real time, and will be very possible that the entire player-controlled fleet surrounding the player will be able to rebel against the player and attempt to kill the player or the empire leader. Morale modifications will be more heavily affected by external data points within the galaxy, as well as player and admiral leader choices and battle outcomes. Okay, so over here, this is talking about collected by Empire Environment Tracking System. Okay, so to the left here. This is collected by Empire Environment Tracking System. These are the things that will affect the morale the most, which is pirate fleet presence. So pirate fleets will be roaming around the galaxy, and they will loiter at your space stations, and they will actually steal resources. Now, pirate fleets won't be able to capture planets like marauder fleets. Marauder fleets will actually capture your planets and start basically kind of forming their own little empire if you don't deal with them. But pirate fleets will actually siphon off resources, and their presence in a solar system will actually slowly start reducing the morale of your ships, of your officers. And I don't like calling them ships because technically they're officers. So you know, within your fleets you have pilots, you have captains, which are capital ship captains, and you have one admiral per fleet. So, and what will happen is over time, if you don't deal with these things and send fleets to deal with the pirates, then eventually the morale will drop so low on your ships that they'll start to rebel on you. And that's what the Rebel Transition Controller is right here. That leads into the AI Agenda Orders Receiver Controller, which will transition the ship to a rebel. And there will be a full rebellion simulation within this game. So, let's see, where was I? There will also be mental state. Mental state will be affected more by internal data points regarding the ship's current state, low ammo, low hull points, low shields. The ship's mental state will reflect the condition of the ship. Mental states will also raise and lower with morale. An example condition is if a ship is near death but has a high morale, it will still be possible for the ship's mental state to drop to fearful, resulting in erratic flight behaviors, fleeing from combat, and refusing to follow orders. A well-supplied ship with high morale will reflect a high mental state, granting bonuses to weapons, steering, and speed. And then I have the basic mental state types right here, which is rebellious, fearful, content, happy, proud, and zealous, which will be an expandable system, so I'll be able to easily add more, or modify this system as I need. Oh, crap. Where'd it go? Hang on, I accidentally clicked off of it. There we go. So, okay. And then I kind of have some notes right here. Go out there and make your Sims proud by winning battles, capturing planets and star systems, killing world and star killer entities, pirates, marauders, and by not dying. Mental state types will apply positive and negative modifiers to weapon steering and throttle control. An example would be that of a zealous pilot would receive bonuses to weapons fire rate, weapons accuracy, weapons damage, ship turn ratios, and ship speed. And then that's reflected down here in the architecture where you see the mental state deployment controller that runs into the weapons, the modifier controllers before the output controllers for weapons, for throttle control, and for steering control. And if you see those lines, they're basically pointing to everything accurately. And the behavior algorithms deployment we'll talk about in a minute, which leads into the navigation controller and the targeting controller, because the behavior system is separate from steering and throttle. Okay, so back to mental state. So over here, when it comes to mental state of the ship, the mental state will be more reflected by the internal state of the ship. So, for example, if the ship has low hull, low shields, no ammo, or runs out of ammo completely, its mental state will start rapidly dropping. It's gonna go from, if it's proud, within probably a few minutes, it'll, I haven't said the time scales yet, but it'll go from proud to happy to content to fearful to rebellious. And literally, if you let ships sit long enough without resupply ships showing up, which I'll talk about that later, there'll be supply ships that automatically run from your core worlds and deliver supplies to your fleets. But if they sit long enough, eventually they might rebel on you, literally, because, if you were a pilot out in space and you didn't have any fuel, or you didn't have any weapons, or maybe you didn't have any fuel or weapons, and you're just sitting there kind of stranded, eventually you're going to be like, screw this, I'm out of here, right? So that's the way I'm designing this game and the rebellion system to be at least semi-realistic in that sense. So fuel will be a big one. If a ship runs out of fuel, it's not going to be a happy ship. It's not going to be a happy pilot or officer. And it could rebel on you. Okay, what else is there? Okay, so also dealing with morale, there's a lot of data points that will affect these systems. Dang, I did it again. This video is way too long to start over. I'm going to open it again. So, dealing with morale, there's a lot of data points that will affect, there's more data points that will affect morale than affect mental state. So, for example, there's a planet devourer. Like I was talking about earlier, there'd be titans. that devour planets, and there'll be titans that can actually destroy stars and permanently alter the solar system. Not solar, the galaxy. So literally, you'll be when you're playing this game. Uh, if you just sit there and do nothing, eventually the entire galaxy is going to be wiped out, and your capital world, your capital system, not world, but your capital system that contains worlds, will be the last one left in the galaxy. And literally, you'll have planet devourers and star killers coming for your solar system in pretty much an epic last stand battle. If literally you sit there and do nothing and you don't ever fight them, or you just leave them alone, or you ignore them, eventually, during the cycle of the game, they will destroy the entire galaxy. So there is kind of a time limit on the games, but there will be a setting, just like in other 4X strategy games. In the beginning of the game, you'll be able to determine the size of the galaxy, and you'll also be able to turn off Titans if you really want to. I don't think it's going to be as fun, but it'll be up to the player. A lot of these settings will be up to the player to decide if they want to include them in the galaxy. They'll be able to turn off entities, and also they'll be able to turn off herds and turn off pretty much everything if they just want to have a bare bones game without any of the extra AI types roaming around the galaxy. So also things that affect morale, as I was talking before, entity presence. So if there's an entity that's nearby, in a neighboring solar system, it'll have a serious negative effect, and the morale effect modifier that will affect your fleets will be dependent on the range or the distance of that Titan. So the closer it gets, the more the morale will drop. So if you don't actually try to take care of the Titan and attack it, eventually your empire is going to start to rebel against you for doing nothing. So this game will be, from the player experience, a balance between them managing their empire and managing resources, as well as managing the morale. So how you boost morale is by winning battles, by destroying pirate fleets, there'll be a system to where you can use galactic currency, which is one of the resources, to boost morale on fleets as well. So there'll be plenty of opportunity systems for the player to boost the morale. There'll also be artifacts in the game, which will permanently boost morale as long as the artifact is on board the ship of the admiral of the fleet. There'll be some artifacts which will be rare, which will be empire-wide morale boosters. What else is there? Okay, player death. So I want to talk about player death for a minute. Player death will be a massive negative empire-wide morale reduction. So if you die, your entire empire is going to suffer a morale reduction. So the more times you die, eventually, if you die enough, your entire empire is going to rebel against you, and you're going to spawn in your capital world, and everyone's going to be trying to kill you. Did it again. I don't like this. I just downloaded this program to view this image, something a little better than Windows, and every time I click off of it, it minimizes. So, what else is there? Oh yeah, so I want to talk about, I don't want to get too much into the software architecture for the AI right here. I'm just trying to get some brief overview about the game. Okay, so here's the different fleet types. You have Empire fleets, and then this is the hierarchy, which is pilot, which is the fighter pilots, also gunship pilots, and then you have captains, which are the AIs that captain capital ships, and then you have the Empire fleet admiral, which there'll only be one fleet admiral per fleet. And then these are the behavior algorithms, which basically are the targeting systems, targeting and tracking. As I was saying before, the behavior algorithms only affect navigation and targeting systems. The throttle and steering are independent, basically the pilot AI from behavior algorithms. And then these are the basic behavior algorithms, which I'm designing an expandable algorithm system that will allow me to basically create a container which will be an independent algorithm that can be applied to the ship, and these algorithms can be switched, at any time. So let's talk about the Galaxy navigation systems for fleet admirals, which is right here on the left. Empire Fleet Admiral, receivable orders, expandable. So you got Rebel Hunters, Empire Patrol. What that'll do is when you give that order to fleet, you will select a solar system, and it'll have a range at which it'll fly around looking for rebels. Don't minimize. It'll fly around looking for rebels. The fleet will, say within 2 to 3 jumps of solar systems around it. And whenever one shows up, it'll automatically jump to its position and hunt it down and try to kill it. Now, keep in mind that if you have low morale on those fleets that you're sending after your rebels, the rebel officer will actually try to recruit your ships. Now, what will happen is if your morale on your officer, on any of your officers, is below 30%, and the rebelling officer, which is the target of the fleet you send after it, is a higher ranking officer, say it's a capital ship captain that rebelled, and it's off out there by itself, and it's hunting down your supply ships, and you send a fleet after it to kill it, and you have 2 or 3 fighter pilots in the fleet you sent after to kill it that have low morale. Well, what's going to happen is that rebel captain is going to recruit the ships that are low morale in the fleet you send after it. It's actually going to grow its own fleet. So, and as soon as that captain recruits some ships out of from your fleet, your Empire fleet that you send after it, it'll become an admiral. And it'll become an admiral of a rebel fleet, and a rebel fleet will actually form. Now, it's very possible that your fleet will actually succeed and then kill them all, right? But if you're not keeping up with rebels, then they can actually form and grow fleets, not only from converting ships in your fleet, but by launching boarding parties, they'll be able to capture ships. And if they encounter pirate fleets, they'll be able to launch boarding parties as well and capture pirate ships and marauder ships and grow their fleets that way. Okay, what else we have? Frontline aggression. Okay, so in Galactic Armada, you'll be able to give orders to your admirals, and one of the orders will be frontline aggression. And what will happen there is it'll be an automated system where that fleet, will travel to the outer borders of your empire, and it will start hyper jumping into enemy territories of empires you're at war with, and it will look for weaker opponents that are fleets that have a lesser fleet strength than them itself. And when it finds one, either lesser or equal, within a range, it will engage it. Frontline defense, which means it'll travel to your outer borders and it'll defend solar systems on your outer border. Let me bring it back up. Okay, so where is it? Oh yeah, frontline defense. Okay, so it'll travel to your front line, to your border of your empire, and defend solar systems and planets within solar systems when they are attacked by an enemy. And they'll basically loiter for a while before moving on to another system on your border. Core system defense, which basically you'll have 3 core solar systems which contain planets, and when you give that order, a fleet will basically travel around and loiter. It'll look for pirates, look for marauders, look for any attacking fleets that are attempting to hyper jump in to your core system, your core systems. So anyway, I don't want this video to get too long, so I'm not going to go into all of them, but you kind of get the idea of what this game is going to be about. It's going to be about managing morale, managing a rebellion. It'll be about conquest, attacking and capturing planets, stations, and areas, which will be nebulas. There's other charts which you can see on the Facebook page. I can't post them all and go through all of them because it would just take too much time. But if you want to follow along with development and see some of the charts and diagrams as I release them, then go ahead and go to the Facebook link at the bottom of the description of this video and like the fan page. And you're more than welcome to follow along. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's go ahead. Where are we? So you got rebel fleets, and you can see the different orders. If you want to go ahead and go through and look at this chart, I don't want to go through all of them on here. I do have some brief descriptions of these systems on the right over here. And then here's the galaxy system chart, which I just want to show you. I don't really want to go into explaining it too much here, but I do want to show it to you. This is the procedural galaxy system, which shows the galaxy components and basically how the galaxy system is going to work, the core systems, how the core systems are going to work, how the planets and different areas are going to be placed within the galaxy using an orbital ring system, which is semi-realistic. It's actually very realistic as far as an actual galaxy. Pretty realistic. Probably more realistic than a lot of games you've seen, besides maybe what's that game? Crap, I forget the name. I didn't play it very much because I didn't find it very fun. I thought it was kind of boring. What's the name? You can also land in planets like Star Citizen. Elite Dangerous. Oh yeah, I played Elite Dangerous for a couple of days, and I don't like spending a million hours trying to travel around. And I didn't really find it very fun. My game, you're always going to be busy doing something. You're always going to be engaging in battles. It's a game of conquest. It's not a game of playing fetch. It's not really an exploration game, although there is going to be an exploration component to the game by finding artifacts and exploring areas such as nebulas and asteroid structures and rings, which will have hidden artifacts that will give your empire bonuses. There will also be physics simulations in some of these areas, such as nebulas will have procedural lightning systems which can damage your ships. Also, it'll have a wind simulation system within the nebula that can push and sweep your ship away, making it difficult to reach the artifacts and stuff like that within the nebula. And you guys are more than welcome to go check out this chart over here. Okay, so here's a diagram of the. Oh, this is the economy. My bad. This is the economy chart. I was looking at the wrong one. That's the economy. Let me bring up there's the galaxy. Yeah, there's the galaxy. Anyways, I gotta cut this video short because my upload speed isn't all that great. It's gonna take a while to upload this. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment and I'll try to respond to it. I got about 2 to 3 weeks at a maximum month timeline to get this game fully designed. The entire library of charts and diagrams, software, architecture flowcharts, concept design flowcharts. Everything you see here I can actually build. I've been working with the Unity program for a few years now, and I'm fairly experienced. I was an experienced programmer before that for years, over a decade, longer than that. And I can actually build these things. I'm experienced enough in Unity to know what I can build, what I can't build, what I can do, and what I can't do, and what's most likely going to use too much resources. So everything like I said, everything you see in these charts, I can build. I can build this game. I can build this procedural galaxy. I can build the AI. I love building AI. I love designing complex systems. It's my thing. And I'm gonna have to leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching, and like, share, subscribe. Until next time.